Hi, my name's Amanda Canida. I'm a drinking water process engineer at Black Veatch. I help on the process side of many different drinking water treatment projects, ranging from regulatory coordination through selection of the optimal treatment technologies and design and implementation and commissioning. So the best available treatment technologies for PFAS are currently adsorptive medias, including granular activated carbon or ion exchange resin, and also high pressure membranes, including reverse osmosis or nanofiltration. So it is recommended to do demonstration testing to select the treatment technology that will work best with the water matrix for each individual water system. There's really no one size fits all best solution for every different water system. So that can be done using bench scale tests or pilot tests. Nanofiltration and reverse osmosis do need to be tested on the pilot scale, but adsorptive medias can be tested on the bench scale. So before I dig into the weeds with adsorptive medias, as that they continue to operate, the adsorptive sites of the media will begin to be saturated as PFAS is adsorbed onto the media surface. So once that begins to happen, you'll see PFAS break through the media and you'll begin to see concentrations in the effluent of your contactors. So we quantify that in a term called breakthrough. So within bench scale testing, we're able to quantify the time to 50% breakthrough through a contactor. And that really allows us to select the media that will be the highest performer at that individual treatment facility. So that can also be done in a really rapid time frame. We use rapid small scale column tests to test both all adsorptive medias, so granular activated carbon, ion exchange resin, or novel adsorbents such as Fluorosorb. And that can be done within 1 or 2 months at a relatively low cost. Alternatively, you can do pilot testing of those adsorptive medias. That is a much longer time frame. It can take over a year, depending on what the water quality is. Some medias have a longer lifespan to break through than others. So ion exchange resin, for example, might take upwards of a year, whereas granular activated carbon might break through in 6 months. So that's when your pilot test would end. Also, the costs associated are quite a bit higher. You're running all the analyticals for that entire time frame, and the analytical tests are quite expensive. So it comes at a cost and a schedule impact if you decide to go the pilot testing route. Pilot testing is beneficial because it does quantify the time to 100% breakthrough for PFAS. So that helps to define your life cycle costs for each media type. However, public water systems will need to make the decision on whether that information is necessary, or if they can just proceed based on using bench scale tests to select the highest performing media and make sure that the design is flexible for various different media types in the future, which will be important in terms of continuing to optimize your life cycle costs in the absence of pilot testing data. Also, for regulatory changes, we have 29 different PFAS that will be included in future federal monitoring efforts. So these regulations will continue to evolve. So it's important to have that flexibility regardless. And then finally, it will help as well if there are additional advancements in novel adsorbents that ultimately end up in a product that might have a better life cycle cost than you'd even be able to test at the pilot scale. Then you'd be able to change out your media to a different, more higher performing media in the future. So at that time, we did perform pilot tests just because we didn't have a regulatory driver we had a little bit more time on our hands than utilities have now, considering the time frame to compliance with the proposed rule that was released last week. So through that, we were able to test various different granular activated carbon types and also ion exchange resin to select the best treatment solution for them. So some of the things there's a lot of really cool things about that project. First, we ultimately designed a granular activated carbon treatment system for them, which is the largest granular activated carbon system for PFAS treatment in the United States. It's been in operation since September of 2022 and achieving non-detectable levels for most of the PFAS compounds that they're measuring. GenX was the PFAS in particular that they were concerned with because of contamination from industrial dischargers upstream in the Cape Fear River. So second, the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority was really proactive in handling this issue. There were no regulatory drivers that were driving them to make the change in treatment, but they did this in best interest of their customers to remove this PFAS contamination from these industrial sources upstream, so it's not in the finished water. So this project started in 2018. After that, in 2020, North Carolina released health advisory levels for GenX chemicals. And then in June of 2022, so this past summer, the EPA issued lifetime health advisories for GenX chemicals that were much lower than North Carolina's health advisory limit. And then just this past week, or I guess last week rather, the EPA issued the first proposed regulation for GenX chemicals in combination with a few other PFAS compounds. So again, they were much ahead of the curve, and now they're sitting very comfortably knowing that they're meeting all existing and future regulations for GenX. So they're providing a lot of good peace of mind for their customer base. So the third cool aspect about the project is, it was obviously designed for optimal removal of GenX chemicals, the PFAS of concern in their water source, but it also has, mutual beneficial removal of other emerging contaminants, including endocrine disruptors and pharmaceutical and personal care products. And it also reduces total organic carbon in their water, which essentially reduces the disinfection byproducts in their finished water. So this solution provided a lot of benefits in addition to the target purpose of the project, which was PFAS treatment. And then finally, the last item I have to cover is that the media or the design of the contactors is flexible for future media changeouts. So it was designed for granular activated carbon, but it can also be set up for fluorosorb or ion exchange resin or future novel adsorbents with the design of the backwash systems and the underdrain system. So that allows them flexibility to meet future changing regulations like I talked about before, or adapt to new absorbents that come out that have better life cycle costs at the same treatment efficacy. It's a really exciting time in the industry. Of course, there's a lot of pressure on scientists to make these advances, to make technologies more efficient and cost effective for public water systems, and also to proof test them quickly so that primacy agencies allow them for treatment. So, with the constantly evolving understanding of the health impacts of PFAS and continually changing regulations, the science-based community is really banding together, where maybe in the past there has been silos for competitive reasons. Everyone just wants to help each other out and work towards a solution, which that's the way I operate. So I really have enjoyed that element of this problem. And a few examples from Black & Veatch's perspective, we're currently working on a Water Research Foundation project to evaluate how thermal processes can remove or destroy PFAS in biosolids at water reclamation facilities. So that's a great project that we're working on to help evolve understanding from a wastewater perspective. And also, we're working on one other project for a client on the East Coast that has a point. It's another water reclamation facility with a point source from a landfill leachate. that has a really high concentration of PFAS in their leachate stream. So we're taking this project as an opportunity to, the first phase, we will be testing up to 25 different treatment technologies on the bench scale to validate vendors' claims on their efficacy for PFAS destruction. And we will take that information, that'll wrap up this summer, and we'll take the top 3 highest performers, and we will then test those at the pilot scale. So that will, in some of the technologies we're looking at are foam fractionation, electrochemical oxidation, and plasma technologies. And the list goes on and on. But by piloting these different technologies that are really novel and haven't been proven in the industry yet, it will help inform future treatment for similar high concentration streams for destruction purposes, which is obviously very important when considering protection of the environment in general, as well as the newly proposed circular regulations. And some of the outputs from that too could potentially apply to brine streams for high pressure membrane applications in the drinking water space. So there's a lot of good research happening within and outside of Black and Veatch, and I'm just really excited to be a part of it and see what comes of it all.